Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Hope from the Feisty Lawyers series, Book 4 by Seelie K, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1, Pipsqueak. Agent Diana Murphy glared at the stopwatch she held in her hand. "Damn it," she murmured into her Bluetooth. "She broke the speed record again, Boyd. We need to shake things up. Shake her up. We need to shake things up. Our obstacles are simply too easy for her. Hope is too light on her feet. She flies through the course as if she sprouted wings. But when she comes up against some 300-pound gorilla twice her height and 3 times her weight, she's going to have a fight on her hands. We aren't doing her any favors by making this too easy. She needs a challenge. A big challenge." Boyd muttered an obscenity. "You're right, of course. What do you suggest?" "We need a tougher course. Something so hard it leaves her dirty, exhausted, and pissed. Something she can't conquer in a single try. Something that forces her to utilize every ounce of her training. I want to see her cry in frustration, sulk in despair. We can't mess with this course, not when others are using it, but we can create something of our own." "And what if she complains? Makes that age-old cry of gender discrimination?" Diana chuckled. "That's not Hope's way. The Allies have taught her well. She's tougher than anyone on this base. Hell, she's even better trained in self-defense than anyone on this base. And smarter. So much smarter. But she's book smart, not street smart. We have to challenge her to overcome the deficits she does have in the real world. Her size, her strength, her lack of cynicism." Boyd groaned. "I'm so glad you're training her. Most of the guys around here are afraid of her. She's so sneaky, she's lethal. She took every guy to the mat in self-defense class, not because she was bigger or stronger, but because she's smart. Those bodyguards, she had taught her every trick, every single dirty trick, and any way you look at it, she's going to be a superstar." Diana grunted. "Well, a dead superstar is still dead. It's my job to make sure she survives no matter the situation." She flipped through the pages on her clipboard. "I was given information on a course that is more challenging, but it's been sitting in mothballs. No one has used it for a few years. Something called the Ball Buster." Boyd remained silent for a moment. "Damn, Diana. Only a few people have gotten through that course successfully, and your husband, Anders, was one of them. Even he had to run it a few times before he mastered it. That thing is brutal. What if Hope fails? What if she breaks?" "This is Hope Alley we're talking about. At the ripe old age of 22, the best recruit the agency has ever had. She will not break. And if she fails, she will pick herself up and keep on trying. I guarantee it." "God, I am so glad you're her trainer. When that kid gets pissed, no one wants to be in her line of fire." Diana laughed. "Speaking of which, how'd she do with the assault weapons? Were they too heavy for her?" Boyd snickered. Of course they were. She could barely pick one up, but that didn't stop her. She still managed to best everyone else in her class. Grabbed a bale of hay, dragged the gun over, and used the hay for arm support. Figured out how to handle the blowback and just started shooting. Half the men walked away looking like they had been forced to feast on their balls for breakfast. Some of them were actually tossed on their asses from the recoil action. Not Hope Ali. She punched the bullseye repeatedly and did a dainty little happy dance. At least we don't have to worry about her hooking up with any of the other recruits. They've all been emasculated. Good. She doesn't need the distraction. Well, except for Agent Jeffries, that is. Man has it bad, though he'll never admit it. He stares at her with those sad puppy dog eyes. Can't take his eyes off her. She doesn't even notice. Practically ignores him. Poor guy. Do I need to speak with Jeffries? His superiors are well aware of his interest. If he takes it any further, all of her protectors are ready to swoop in and bat him away." Diana laughed. "That's what happens when you grow up surrounded by the agency. You get your own built-in cock-blocking squad whether you want it or not." Hope Ali stormed into her dorm room and threw herself down on the narrow twin bed that awaited her. She groaned, rolled over, and stared up at the ceiling. "Damn it, damn it, damn it," she cursed. "This is not fair. I passed all of their damn tests. What more do they want?" Kate Creighton, her assigned agency mentor and roommate, rolled over and pushed her long blonde hair out of her big blue eyes. She sighed dramatically. They want you to prove that you can best the men and women you're going to meet out in the field. Face it, Hope. In here you're mighty, but that really doesn't prove anything. When you're hunkered down in Russia or the Middle East, confronted by 400-pound enforcers who can crush you with their boot, you're going to be in trouble unless you can get past them. To the enemy, you're going to be a butterfly waiting to be scooped up in a net. You need to be faster, smarter, more lethal than your opponents. It's the agency's job to make sure you're prepared for anything. It put me through hell too, but I survived. And so will you. Hope scowled. You've only got a few inches on me, yet you breezed right through training. We have similar backgrounds. Both of us grew up with bodyguards and excessive defense training because of who our parents are. Why is this so much easier for you? Kate shrugged. We don't have the same challenges. I've got 5 inches and probably 20 or 30 pounds on you, and I know how to use it. Besides, we're being trained for different roles. I'll always be the honeypot, the seductress. I need to be more subtle in how I attack and defend myself. You don't. Most times I'll be one-on-one with most of my targets, and as I have proved in the heat of the moment, I am quite capable of eliminating them if need be. There's little chance that I will ever have to face an armed man or an angry mob. You can't make the same claim. 2 years prior, working undercover for her mother, Lydia Creighton, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, Kate had infiltrated the Latin American compound of the notorious religious cult God's Delight. Her job had been to determine whether cult members were being used as slave labor to harvest and manufacture heroin. Unbeknownst to her, Diana Murphy and her husband, Agent Anders Mark, were also working undercover to ascertain how the cult was recruiting American college students and whether those students were being held against their will. Kate, who had garnered the attention of the cult's leader and used the attraction to solicit information, had emerged unscathed. Diana, however, had been poisoned, and without Kate's intervention could have lost her life. Shortly thereafter, Kate had been asked to join the agency. Diana, however, had removed herself from the field and joined the training division. And second of all, you're being trained to be invisible. Because of your age and size, you have the ability to move in and out of situations unnoticed. However, that doesn't mean you won't get caught. If you do, you'll have to rely on your instincts to survive. That's what they're trying to teach you, Hope. How to react without thinking to ensure you survive. A moment's pause, a second of indecision, could kill you. Kate sat up and began to pull on her cross trainers. I have been trained practically since birth how to hone my instincts. I can read people like a book and know how they're going to react even before they do. My life has been filled with parties, with diplomats and world leaders. I've met the best and the worst. I can smell deceit. I can sense evil. You didn't have that experience. For your safety, your father had to keep you out of the public eye. So you haven't had an opportunity to develop street smarts. That's what they're trying to give you now. Street smarts. You're not there yet, but you will be. Kate smiled. And once you can read people, you and I are going to head to Vegas and slay some poor suckers in a few poker tournaments. You know, the ones with all the hotshot actors. We'll glam up, make them think we're nothing but fluff, and clean their clocks. We'll be able to read all of their tells. They'll be begging for mercy. Kate sighed happily. Hope groaned. And I'll be drinking water despite the free alcohol. I still haven't recovered from my 21st birthday party when you and everyone else thought it would be fun to teach me drinking games. I felt like crap for 2 weeks afterward. Kate snorted. That's when we realized you'd never be able to drink a thug under the table. You, my dear, need to play a whole different ballgame. She finished tying her shoes and stood. Come on, time to check out tonight's protein-packed fare. I never thought I would say this, but I am so sick of fish, beef, and chicken that I would welcome a little tofu or spirulina. I'm starting to bulk up like a tackle for the Green Bay Packers. Hope giggled. There is something to be said for being able to roll over and crush your prey. Kate's eyes widened. She picked up her pillow and whipped it towards Hope's head. Watch it, pipsqueak. The next person I roll over could be you. Hope grabbed the pillow and tossed it back. Ah, but you can bet Agent Jeffries will be there to rescue me. Her eyes narrowed. Don't you think calling me pipsqueak is just a little disrespectful? All of you call me that, and I'm starting to feel insulted. It was okay when I was a teenager, but now... Kate waved her off. Accept it for what it is, a term of affection. Almost every agent you work with knew you as a kid. They adore you. Calling you pipsqueak isn't an insult. It is a way of reminding you of their long-term bond with you. Kate frowned. If you really hate it, we'll stop, but there are much worse nicknames out there. Killer, the Assassin, Wonder Woman. Hope shrugged. At least those nicknames have nothing to do with my age or my size. I'm not some mini-me. I am a full-grown adult who just happens to be height-challenged, though sometimes I feel like everyone is expecting me to fail because of it. Kate laughed. Actually, it's just the opposite. They're impressed by your skills. You're killing it, girl, and don't you forget it. She grinned. Now about Agent Jeffries. Despite that aloof, tall, dark, and handsome thing he's got going on, he's practically Velcroed to your ass. And not in a good way. If he becomes your partner, he may be more interested in... Hope slapped her hands over her ears. Ugh, no more. That's a visual I don't need. Kate smiled sweetly. Then you'd better bring a towel to wipe up the drool. Dude's got it bad. Agent Thomas Jeffries waited impatiently in the cafeteria for the woman who consumed his every waking thought. Hope Alley. At age 25, he was no longer a hormone-driven teenager. No, he was a fully trained covert operative who had escaped scores of life-threatening situations, besting the bad guys and tossing them into cells. Yet one teeny-tiny woman with long, thick, silky black hair and big, brown, soulful eyes had reduced him to a sniveling puddle of need. When those full ruby red lips opened and released those dulcet British tones, his knees grew weak and his cock hard, even when she was insulting him. Sure, Hope Alley was a handful, but he wanted her to be his handful. As in his hands. As... damn it. He had it bad for that sweet little princess. Oh, she was polite enough. She smiled when they met. She even deigned to engage him in conversation. But nothing more. She treated him like all the other guys, and that had to stop. His grandfather had taught him that seduction took time, and only then was surrender unconditionally sweet. So he would patiently weave his spell. He would woo Hope, romance her, seduce her, and once he captured her heart, mind, and soul, he would envelop her in unwavering bliss. Until she kicked him in the balls, cackled, and danced away. Tom chuckled to himself. That was the challenge of Hope Alley. She was a vision of loveliness as angelic as they came, until she opened her mouth or unleashed a lethal kick. Then she was a warrior, a woman on a mission. She gave a whole new meaning to the term warrior princess. He smiled at Hope when she appeared before him. She blushed, then rushed into the food line, throwing various items onto her tray with abandon. Her roommate Kate followed close behind. Kate winked at him and then pointed at Hope, rolling her eyes. Relief filled him. At least Kate appeared to be on his side. She was a great ally. Tom's attention was drawn to the sound of tiny feet running into the cafeteria. A little voice yelled, "Hope! Hope! Over here! I missed you!" He watched with amusement as a tow-headed boy about 4 ran toward Hope and wrapped his arms around her waist while she struggled to balance her tray. Tom strode toward her and took the tray out of her hands. "Whoa! Looks like you have your hands full." The little boy giggled. "Hope's my girlfriend," he said. "We gotta get married someday." Hope grinned and peeked up at Tom through thick black lashes. "What's 18 years when it's true love?" She patted the boy's head and then squatted down to kiss his cheek. "Ethan, do your parents know where you are?" A loud laugh boomed from the entrance to the cafeteria. Cade Matthews, agent in charge, walked in with his wife, former agent and now law professor Janet McLaughlin. A tiny little girl with the same light blonde hair and big blue eyes of her mother shyly hugged Janet's leg. The child's gaze swept the cafeteria, then locked onto Hope. She ran toward her, squealing with delight. "Opie!" she yelled as she launched herself at Hope, knocking the little boy aside. Hope swept the girl into her arms and laughed. "Chloe, oh, how I've missed you." She set the little girl on the floor and took both children's hands. "My mighty misfits back together again." She grinned happily. Tom smiled as he watched the boy and girl shower Hope with affection. He cleared his throat and gestured toward the food tray he still held. What do you want me to do with this? Cade laughed and walked over toward him. Just put it down anywhere, my God, Hope. Here, only 4 weeks in, and you've got a man doing your bidding. He turned and smiled at Tom. And Agent Jeffries, no less. Good catch. Your father and mother would approve. Hope stared at Cade, and her face paled. He's not. We're not. I barely... Janet laughed and slapped at her husband. Oh, cut it out. You've embarrassed them. She smiled at Hope. However, you and I should talk. Agency relationships, though permitted, are tricky. Hope's face reddened, and she muttered, But there's nothing going on. She gestured at Tom and said softly, Just put my tray down anywhere, please. I imagine the Matthews family is joining me for dinner. Tom nodded, then started to walk away. Ethan kicked at him and scowled. Hope's my girlfriend, so you just stay away. He hugged Hope again. Forever. Chloe looked at Hope and then at Tom. She grinned. Want to be in the wedding? She began to dance around them. I can be a princess and throw flowers. She clapped her hands with enthusiasm. Can I please? Can I? Hope glared at Tom. See what you started? Now just take that fine at... Hope blanched. Oh, just go away. She turned from him and stomped her foot. Tom smiled and winked at Kate. Progress.